Hello everyone and welcome to my modular plot. It has been a glorious June so far. It's been scorching that I've actually been waiting for a couple of cloudier days to do some planting out so the little starts don't get scorched. So I came down yesterday and I'd not been for a week and it had literally weeds everywhere, so I spent the whole day clearing all that out. So I'm back here 8 o'clock in the morning to get started. Alright, last week the reason why I had a little break is I got bit by a horsefly, which was lovely, nice course of antibiotics, but back on it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start the squash patch, which I'm going to mix in with some corn, and we're going to do the backup broccoli, and we're going to finally get into ground these little artichokes that I started from the seed. They've been struggling, they've been throwing up leaves and they've just been crisping away. This one's like one of the better ones, so I'm going to put them in my last perennial bed. But let's have a little look at the table. So these little artichokes, like I said, I started these back at the end of January, but they have been chucking up leaves and then dying off and going a bit crispy, and then throwing up another one, and I'm sure they're just getting stressed in pots. I've potted them on, got to a stage, but let's get them in the ground. Then we've got some squashes, we've got some Delicatas, which were our favourite last year. Really starchy and made really good wedges. And then we've also got some sweet dumpling and some black futsu going on here. And this little one I actually found germinating on the compost heap, which is absolutely flying. So I'm going to grow these in a few different ways, but we'll see that in a bit. Got the backup broccoli to go in. There's some autumn spear, some Romanesco cauliflower, some normal green heading from real seeds, and this is some Tamar sprouting broccoli, which does not look very happy at all, except for this one. But I only want to get 3 in because they're a long ball game for next year. And then I kind of forgot about the sweet corn, getting them sown. So these are about 18 days old, and these are only, this is like 7 days old now. But I'm going to chuck them in because they're better off outside than getting stressed at home. Cool, so that's the table. Let's have a look around the plot. So one job I did get done before I got my horsefly bite is I got to clear out the large amounts of weeds that were growing up against the raspberries, which should give them a little bit of room to breathe. Some of the peas are finally coming on. One of the things I got done is I got the last rescue batch of peas in, and only 10 days after sowing, so they're in, and they seem to have taken well. And we've also got an actual mange too, growing up beautifully. I've been getting some of the beans in when they're ready, and they've all seemed to be taking quite nicely. Today, one last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just put some beans in any gaps that I've got and just germinate them straight in the soil. These are the 2 root and leaf bean beds. The beets have pulled through, even though the first batch I did pretty stressed. The actual second batch is overtaking it, ironically. Got some extra lettuces in. We're nearly getting to the point where we can actually eat one of the first batch of lettuces, and the spinach has come up really nice. That needs thinning out soon. Also, in this one, parsnips have done amazingly. There's kind of 2 weeks in between all of these sowings, so that's the oldest one, 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks on these two. So they're all coming up, great germination. Also on the cards for thinning out, probably next time. Here's some of the carrots. This was 2 weeks in between all the sowings. First one really bad, that was cold, not too great, and a lot better. So, and I've also put around this netting for carrot root fly. Potato bed is doing lovely. We're starting to get some flowers on the second earlies. We've got Maris Pear at the far end, and then some Nicola. Got beautiful flowers on, and then the main crop potatoes are doing good too. They've all come up. The allium beds are plodding on nicely. Tips of the shallots are starting to yellow up a touch, and the spring onions have finally come through. Over here we've got the onions and the little leek seed bed. They look very healthy now, quite happy. This is where we're going to put the squash and corn in. I'm going to, there's kind of like 3 different zones going on. This block here is just going to be open to the air, and that's going to have the corn and the sweet corn in. This long bed here is just original as it came when we got it. It was just a heaped up mound. So that's just straight clay. I'm going to dig some pockets in there and trial some of the compost that I've made and some of the manure that I've had maturing for this year. And then across the back has got an old, really dirty compost heap that's just been spread out, and that had all the first clearings of when I got the plot. So that's going to get covered as well, and I'm just going to squeeze a couple of extra squashes in there. Strawberries look like we're going to get a bountiful crop. They're still on the white touches. The red should be coming in a week or so, and I might throw a net up over this because we do have quite a lot of pigeon pressure going on, and I don't want to actually lose any of these. In the fruit area, we've got this pink currant that's starting to throw up a few new shoots as well, which is looking very healthy. This little blueberry looks pretty happy. Here we've got the pluo tree. Can't do any better than that. Here we've got the perennial bed. The rhubarb's still alive on the end, and here we've got some self-set nasturtiums, which I do love, but I'm going to clear quite a few out, and I'm going to put the artichokes here, but I'm probably going to leave 1 or 2 just for fun, because everybody loves a nasturtium. Nice peppery flowers. And the last bit going on is I did do some building, which I've thrown up these 2 sets of netting. They're just fence pins and bamboo, and then some veggie mesh. It's a lot better than last year. I was using just the butterfly netting, which always got caught on everything, so it's quite nice to have a finer mesh. I had this off yesterday. It's not put back on perfectly because I'm going to plant a load of the Brasicas. Have a little closer look. So it's nice and simple. Fence pin on the end, 8-foot cane, 4-foot cane. Just put a bit of gaff around here just to round off the edges. Probably could come back and do something better with maybe some bubble wrap or something like that. And then plank on the floor to hold the edge down. And then this one is a short plank, which is actually pinned down. So we'll see this in a bit when we do the planting. But the sides come up, and it's nice and easy to work through. First thing we need to do is give it a nice, good, proper soaking. So let's get that going. This really helps making the ground a lot easier to work because it has been very dry. And it's good to have a lot of water in the ground for so the plants don't get too stressed out. Hopefully the weather will pick back up. We'll have a nice hot summer. Well, that's all nicely saturated now, so let's mark out a grid. So we're doing 14-inch spacing, which makes the maths really difficult. So watch me try to work this one out. So let's take it in from here and give ourselves a start point. So we'll go 7 centimetres from this outside edge. Right, that one in there. Much softer now we've watered it. Let's just follow the line. So we're only going to put 4 squashes in this block, and there's going to be like 20 odd corn spots. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and Last one, very much on the edge. Alright, let's take that in. So the spacings for squashes, I mean for the sweet corn, was 14 to 18 inches. So, like as always, I like to kind of push it on how many I can get in. So we're going for 14. So the idea with this, the squash should kind of cover the ground and keep in moisture and all that kind of thing and suppress a bit of weeds. And the corn should just grow up really tall and not be that bothered by the squash at ground level. Then the other patches are not weed-free ground, so I'm going to cover them up with landscape fabric and chop holes through and grow through, because it's a great way of clearing ground. Spend a nice year without any sunshine, and just the squash just loves growing on top of it, and that keeps the moisture in even for the squash. I will need to enlarge these again for planting out, but just getting the locations. And the last line here. I've never grown sweet corn before, so let's see if any of this actually works. And I kind of nearly forgot about it in my seed sowing. So I think I'm a little bit late to the game. Started off a tray of 15 and 13 came up, which is not a bad success rate. And then I've just done another tray of 40. I don't think I'm going to need that many. They're the really young ones. And I think like 28 out of 40 have come up. And I'm going to be planting them really young. Because you know what, sometimes things are just better in the ground than sat at home. And next year I'm going to be looking at a better way of seed starting, either using some extra light or some kind of polytunnel, because I just find that they're not getting the full daylight's amount of light. A bit of this grass. Alright, cool. So that's the grid done. 6 that way, 5 that way. Let's stick 1 or 2 in. Well, this is the first batch laid out in their spots, so we're just going to whack them in. So like the roots have started to kind of, the old root trainer. This isn't a root trainer, this is just a large module. So I'm just going to tease them out a little bit, round them off. And whack them in. So like every third one, there's a squash. So we've seen we've done half of it. There's 13 of the corn and 2 squash. So overall it'll be 26 and 4. Get that in. Earth around, give it a nice contact. I'm just going to work my way through the grid. Hopefully I'll still have some space to actually get in and paint myself into a corner. Let's see how this goes. Cool. Well, that's the first batch done. I'm going to do the other side. I think that was the right amount for a maximum reach for planting out. So that's kind of like 14, 28 inches going out that way. So let's put the last two squashes in and the young ones. So I've covered over the bits that are not having the corn in now, and these are my 4 experimental squashes. These are black Futsus, and this one I dug a little pocket, spade width and depth, and filled it with my homemade compost. This one here I dug a hole again and filled it up with some manure that I've had maturing for the last 6 months. And these two here underneath the tree are just in my very first really bad sticky and weedy compost. So that's why I'm keeping it covered for to stop any grow back. Alright, so one more thing that I need to do with the squashes, and that is pop a few under my beans. Alright, I'm down by my beans, and I'm probably going to regret this, but I'm going to put a little squash underneath each one to kind of like sprawl out. It might sprawl out, it might make all this like really hard to get to, but I'm going to do it. Cool. Well, that's one done. I'll do all the rest. So I've dug out those nasturtiums and just moved them around the plot, and I'm going to take a couple of home for the backyard. And now I'm going to put in my questionable little artichokes. Put these in here. Spacing might be a little bit tight, but I'm expecting some of these might actually just straight up fail, so we'll get them in. And if they need thinning out in the future, we can always do that, can't we? Nice. Yeah, I've been growing these since the end of January. Once again, I think it's another thing that needs more sun, more light. But hopefully they've got like a root structure going on, so they can come good. Just there from round. Alright, and this bed's actually meant to be like a foot or so that way. We eventually do the reveal and take off the covered section. I think the other day we decided we might try and, bizarrely, pop a little bit of lawn in underneath the fruit bushes. Alright, get that one in there. Well, here's my long-balled brassica game. So we've got some purple sprouting at the end, so that's going to be coming in around about January to March next year. And then we've got some Romanesco for the next 4 rows, which is kind of like December, give or take, which would be nice if it comes in. And over here we've got some autumn spear that kind of throws up like an original, like a Calabrese, and then you kind of get like some mini sprouty bits off it, so that one will be like a pick and come again. We've only got 2 stations from like the seed sowing that's actually come up. We've got 2 on this one and 2 on this one. I'm going to let them come up a little bit more and then thin them out to my favourite one. Alright, I'm going to put all these in. Spacing for all of these is 1 foot, and over here 18 inches on the purple sprouting because they get pretty big. Alright, I'm going to get them planted and then I'll show you the green headed. This is the last job I've done today, getting some green headed broccoli in the ground. It's 35 days from transplant, and with a 1 foot spacing again. There's some space on the right of the bed for some successions. I've got some growing up at the moment, will be ready to go in soon, and just trying not to get them all to come at once, so spread out the harvest. Well, that's everything for today. I'm going to go write it up in my diary, and if you like this, like and subscribe and click the bell icon too. Alright, cheers, ta-ra!